Okay, my loves. I know there are a lot of you that are out there that are really wondering, how do I even set boundaries anymore? Maybe you didn't grow up with great boundaries. Maybe boundaries weren't really modeled well for you, or maybe you were told that you cannot have boundaries. Maybe you're tired of being gaslighted in your relationships, and you're tired of feeling crazy all the time and guilty for trying to make a difference in your life. If this is you, then I want you to come schedule a call with me. Let's chat about the Unashamed Image Program. The Unashamed Image Program is geared towards you specifically. I am going to be helping you in our next upcoming session of the Unashamed Image. I am personally going to train you how to not feel crazy when someone is gaslighting you, how to be able to stand your ground, to keep your boundaries intact, and to also see through the bull crap. I am also going to be teaching you how to set really confident boundaries that you can really rely on. And I'm going to help you communicate them in a way that really makes sense. Basically, I'm going to help you live a life free of shame and on your terms. If you are ready and you are done feeling all the shame and guilt for trying to set boundaries, if you are not willing to live another moment the way you are right now and in somebody else's shadow, then this is the time to schedule that call with me. It's completely free, no pressure, just love, just support. Go to www.erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. Scroll down the page to where it says, Let's Chat About Working Together. Click on that button and it'll take you to my booking page. If you're ready to live the unashamed life, schedule that call. Let's get you in the Unashamed Image Program, my loves. From my heart to your heart. Bye. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited that you are back again for another episode of The Other Side of the Struggle. This is a podcast by Erin Anderson, Betrayal Trauma Coaching, and I am Erin Anderson, your host. So the last 2 weeks, we talked a little bit about my story, the take 2, and this week I wanted to talk about the 5 steps of thought process, like your thought trains, and kind of what happens, honestly, from stimulus to results. And this is actually a big thing that I've learned as I have been coaching people and I've been working with them through their traumas and their betrayals and helping them literally heal those things is that seeing what's really actually happening and the process you've gone through from point A to point A, B, C, D, E is actually a really interesting process, and it only takes 5 steps to get there, but yet it keeps us, like, these steps just keep us going around and around and around in a loop, like a dog chasing their tail. And this is why we seek help, right? It's because we are needing peace, we are needing that safety, and we're needing to find some semblance of normality again in life to feel like ourselves. And this is what the thought process does, is it helps you understand how to get back to those things and really be aware of what you're thinking and how those thoughts transmute into the trauma and the distress and the anxiety that comes with the betrayal, right? So this is actually a really, really good podcast for you guys to be listening to, and something that I hope you guys will take lots of notes for, because this is totally free content, you guys. This is stuff that I teach my clients that really, really helps them. So I want to go ahead and give you the 5 steps from stimulus to your results. And obviously the first step is your stimulus, which we're going to get into the explanation of very shortly. The second step is the thoughts you have about that stimulus. The third step is the feelings you have about that stimulus. The fourth step is the actions you take about the feelings and the thoughts, and the fifth step is obviously the results you get from the actions you take. So let's go ahead and break those down. And if you guys need to pause and stop the podcast, feel free to do this, because this is like juicy content, you guys. This is like good stuff. And if you're listening to this podcast, it's because you have dealt with some level of trauma or some level of pain, and are needing a little bit of help to kind of gain your footing again. So let's talk about stimulus. Most of the clients that come to me are women whose husbands have dealt with a porn addiction, or honestly some sort of an addiction of some kind that is making them feel less beautiful, less desirable, overworked, less wanted, not seen, not loved, not worthy, not important, and all of those things. And if you hear that, I'm also talking about some of the feelings that are attached to the stimulus, right? But the stimulus is the thing you cannot change. As much as we wish to, as much as we want to, as much as we beg, plead, scream, shake our husbands, it's not something we can change, because everybody on this earth has their agency, and we have no control over another person's agency. That would be great and fun and fabulous sometimes if we could, to shake them awake, but I'm also a firm believer in the fact that people need to understand things on their own and in their own time and in their own way. That if we were to take the agency away, that person wouldn't actually understand or learn from their actions. And I almost can hear you guys say, he's not learning from his actions, he keeps doing this, right? And I get it. Like, when Ruben and I were going through this, I seriously wanted to shake him so badly. But that would not have worked. It wouldn't have done any good. So, and honestly, he has to learn his own way in his own time. If he's what he's really doing, like why it's detrimental to not just him but his family. And there are ways that you can help influence those lessons to come to pass, but taking away the stimulus is not one of them. The stimulus is extremely important because of the lesson that comes with it. So there's that. There's the stimulus. Your husband has been looking at porn again, or you can talk about a lot of different stimuluses. Your neighbor is yelling at you for having like 3 centimeters of extra space on their land with your fence. There's a stimulus. Your child decides that they refuse to potty train. That is a stimulus. Let's see. There's lots of them. Your mother-in-law is not accepting you. There's a stimulus. Your own mother comes over and tells you that your house looks like trash even though you're raising 6 kids. That may or may not have happened to me. Stimulus, right? There's so much stimulus every single day in our lives that cause us this chain reaction of thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. And if we don't sit back and really understand the lessons that are behind the stimulus, it can, our brain can kind of get away with things. And so this is a whole lot like just kind of taking the life, or taking your life, I should say, by the horns, and really deciding the direction that you're going to go with this, okay? Now, your thoughts. Let's go into that. Your thoughts about what is happening, or what your husband has chosen to do, are the things that this is where you can start to control the situation, okay? You can't control the stimulus. Let's just make that really, really clear. That's not something that's necessarily within your control, but you can control the thoughts you have about that stimulus. Now, many of the things actually that women think when they're dealing with betrayal trauma is, he doesn't love me, I'm not worthy, I'm not valuable, I'm not seen, I'm not good enough. If I just lost weight, or if I just had blonde hair, or if I just looked prettier, if I put makeup on all the time, and if I had a six-pack abs, if I went and worked out every single day, you guys, you can literally drive yourself nuts trying to fit the mold of what your husband thinks he wants. And I'll tell you this right now, he doesn't know. He legitimately, crazily, stupidly doesn't know what he wants right now, because what he wants really should be you. Okay, let's just make that really clear right now. What he wants should be you, because you are a gift. You are literally the Lord's precious jewel, wrapped up in beauty, glory, and grace and gold, given to your husband. Okay, let's make that clear right now. But you are looking at him, to validate that. And if your husband is dealing with a porn addiction, he won't. And even though, like for example, Ruben is a fantastic husband, great dad, sweet, helps me around the house, helps me with dinner. Like, he just gets in and gets his hands dirty, and he doesn't complain. Like, he's my everything. I love this man with every fiber of my being, but because of the addiction that he sometimes faces, he can't truly see reality, because he's still sometimes focused on the things that are not real. Okay? And if you're focused on things that are not real, you cannot truly appreciate the beauty that is around you. It's not possible. Okay? So there's that. But that doesn't mean that you have to think that you're anything less than God's gift to him. God's specific gift to him. Okay? So with that, let's talk about the next step, and that is the feelings that you get when you have these thoughts, okay? If they're a negative feeling, it's definitely a negative thought that comes along with it. Or I'm sorry, let me my husband just got home from work and he just stopped in to say hi, so my brain's kind of discombobulated. But if you are having a negative feeling, then the negative thought, oh my gosh, you guys, if you're having a negative thought, then you're having a negative feeling. Oh my gosh, that only took me like 2 minutes to try to spit out, but that is where you guys really start to pay attention. Okay, and you can kind of think that negative feeling is validating the negative thought, and the negative thought validates the negative feeling, and this is kind of where you guys start getting stuck in the cycles of thought, and you start feeling things like depression, anxiety. What is the opposite of safe? Unsafe? So these are some of the things that you're feeling. And it's directly tied to the thoughts that you're having about the stimulus. And those feelings can lead to actions like if you've listened to the first podcast, you guys know that I threw a metal chair at Ruben's head. It went through the wall. No, I'm not abusive, but when you have these really, really intense emotions, you tend to act negatively upon negative emotions. So negative thought leads to negative emotions, which leads to negative actions. And that leads to a negative result, right? It keeps you caught up in the whole cycle of crud, and you're just ready to get out. Okay? So if you're ready to have a different result, then that means that we have to focus on the thoughts that you're having. Because remember, we can't change we can't change the stimulus, but the thoughts we can change. Now, I know, if you haven't been taught how to do that, that can be really, really hard. But this is honestly where a really good this is why, actually, I should say, a really good relationship with God is important. And, I know that some of you that listen to this podcast don't necessarily believe in God, but you do believe in some sort of higher power, or there's something out there that's bigger than you, okay? That can give you perspective, that can give you a voice. I hope you're believing in those things, because I think it's really important to believe in something that gives you perfect advice. And if you're stuck, if you're feeling stuck especially, then you're not getting that perfect advice from yourself, okay? So you need something bigger than you. For me, it's God, and so that's what I'm going to choose to refer to is God. But whatever it is that's bigger than you, please feel free to substitute that in. So you need to validate your worth somehow, okay? And looking to your husband for that validation doesn't work. It never will. Because, bless his ever-loving heart, even if he doesn't have a porn addiction, he is a mortal. He is not perfect. He is going to make some crazy, stupid mistakes. And guess what? Every human walking around the planet in a skin suit is doing the same thing, making crazy, stupid mistakes. Because we have to learn from them, right? It's all a learning journey. But you've got to have some kind of a communication with a higher power at this point because of that validation, that need for your worth validation. Okay? Now, a lot of people really like having things like affirmations. I don't. I think they're crap, because anytime I would try to put an affirmation in my head, I would always have that little voice in the back saying, "This is a lie. Don't believe it. Look at everybody around you. You're a piece of crap. Nobody loves you. You will never be lovable. You will never be worthy." And I hated that little voice. That voice was seriously wreaking havoc in my head. I hated him. Hated him. He was awful, okay? And anytime I would try to validate myself, sorry guys for a second. Anytime I would try to validate myself that voice would pop up. And it would make things so incredibly difficult to cement those affirmations in my mind. But because I knew that I had a Heavenly Father that created me and loved me like crazy, I decided to bank on that knowledge. And I decided to think about what that truly meant to be loved by a perfect Father. And so this is where meditation really comes in as well. I would sit back and close my eyes sometimes and just envision my Heavenly Father who would help me. We would sit in front of this kind of like rustic cabin, and in that cabin there was this fireplace, and he would have this, grand comfy chair. This was Dad's chair. Everybody knew it as Dad's chair. And across from it was your chair. And when you were in this chair, you were having an interview with him and sitting down with him and telling him about your woes and your struggles and all of your trials, and he would listen. He would listen to me, and he would think over it, and he would just give me this perfect, loving dad wisdom, which was what I needed. Guys, this is actually how I learned about the 5-step process, honestly. From stimulus to results was actually going through this with him. And I've had this actually validated, I guess, is the word I'm looking for, by therapists that I work with. And they all say that, yeah, this is solid stuff. Okay. So I would sit and I would be with him like that for just a minute. So how do you feel about boundaries? It's a legitimate question. A lot of people come to me really struggling with this concept. They often feel guilty for setting boundaries, or they're not sure about even what a boundary is. They've heard the term, set the boundary, things like that, but that's really confusing for them because it's not something that's well taught in our society nowadays, right? They know that boundaries are really important to having healthy, constructive, supportive, and wonderful relationships, but why? And oftentimes they also know that they feel like their boundaries are being violated, but they can't quite pinpoint what the boundary is that's being violated. That's why I've created the Clarifying and Creating Your Boundaries free PDF. You can find out what your boundaries are, how to tune in to what the boundary needs to be, and how to effectively create and communicate your boundary, so that way you stay in this place that respects you, respects the other person, but also gives you the confidence in your boundaries, so that way you stop being gaslighted, disrespected, and unseen. Having your boundaries really clear gives you a voice, and also helps the other person stay in accountability with themselves, so that's not a role that you have to take on anymore. So if you are ready to really have clear boundaries, to really understand what your role is in the boundary, and to give yourself some safety and some protection against people that might try to gaslight you or are just being disrespectful, go grab my Creating and Clarifying Your Boundary PDF at erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. And while you're there, let's schedule a call with me. Come have a chat with me so that way I can really, really help you master this particular skill, creating boundaries, clarifying the boundary, communicating that boundary, and so that way I can also help you have relationships that show up to support you, cherish you, and love you. So he'd give me this amazing advice. And then I would get a little bit of wisdom. So, for instance, he would tell me all the things he loved about me and why I was so precious to him. For example, he taught me about myself and why he chose me to be his daughter. And the things he saw about me, and like gave me great advice about my mission and my purpose, which is obviously coaching women through betrayal trauma. That is my mission and my purpose. And also giving children a space to feel safe and to heal and to feel loved. Those are actually my two, I should say, one mission and purpose. It comes together for women and children, really. He taught me about how I crazy love. How my heart is just wide open and gorgeous and beautiful and a heart of gold. And that with every single trauma, every single hurt that had happened to me, I got a crack in my heart. And when I took that crack to him, he would put light through it and he would seal it with gold. And so my heart was literally was changing from a heart of flesh to a heart of gold. And these were some of the beautiful lessons that he taught me as he taught me about myself. And all of a sudden, I realized that my confidence was growing, that I was understanding myself in such a beautiful, gorgeous way. And now, at this point in my life, I have a crazy love for myself because I love myself the way God does. I've seen myself the way God does. And I have just an awe and appreciation of this creation, which is the Lord's. I am his creation and I am in awe of that creation. And the catalyst here, guys, is God doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't make trash. He doesn't make things that are not of crazy, amazing worth. And he created you. So what does that actually say about you? What does that say? Think about that. Think about the importance of that. So if you're sitting here looking at your husband and his addiction and thinking that you are not worth anything, realize this is your husband's problem. Your problem is not the pornography addiction. Your problem is what the addiction means about you. And if you're focusing on the negative things like that, this is why it hurts. So, consider, you are not a mistake. You are a daughter of God. You remind him of his wife, for crying out loud. You are of infinite, gorgeous, beautiful worth to your Father in heaven, and he's crazy in love with you. That's the truth. God doesn't make mistakes. He creates miracles. So therefore, you are his greatest crowning miracle. And since Eve was the last thing he created, his crowning jewel, that says a lot about the way he feels about his daughters, and you are one of those daughters. So I want you guys to sit down and think about that for a second. Changing the thoughts changes the feelings. So if you sit in this for a second, this thought process of I'm a miracle and I just proved it to you. I just kicked that voice that's been in your head sitting there trying to get you to disbelieve those affirmations you've been feeding yourself in the teeth. So, he should be pretty quiet at this point. Now, I want you to pay attention to the feelings that you're getting. Write them down. Are you starting to feel that little glimmer of hope? That maybe you are lovable, that maybe you are worth something? Because that is exactly what you should be feeling right now. And I let me backtrack that. I can't tell you what you should be feeling, but for me personally, that was what I felt. Was this love. Like it was this glimmer and hope and love that started to grow. It was awesome. And because I started to feel this love for myself, I started to act in love for myself, which meant that I started taking myself and doing like lunch dates. Now, that might not necessarily be something you can do, but I considered, what do I do for and with the people I love? I spend time with them. So that meant that I needed to spend time with me and just me. So here's a really cool freebie. If you guys are looking for something to do with yourself for free, especially right now, go out and check out the stars. Nobody gets to come in to you. Like, nobody gets to hang out with you. This is just you having a conversation with yourself under the stars. Anything that helps you find peace is what you start acting on. And consider the result you're going to start having. This is yummy stuff, you guys. Like, this is like, for me, this is what I had been missing for so long. This is what I had been missing. And I wanted more. I wanted so much more. And so I kept going back to God. I kept learning about myself. I kept kicking that voice in the teeth. I kept realizing that it was true. I'm amazing. And I want to be amazing. I want to go buy a bunch of Christmas gifts for little kids and just hand them out at Walmart. I want to go tell somebody that they look beautiful today. I want to lift somebody else out of their pain. I want to walk around with a giant smile on my face. I want to sit down and have just a really yummy discussion with my kids and share some of this wisdom that I'm gaining. I want to look at my husband and tell him, hey, I'm sorry that you're dealing with this. That's unfortunate. Have you considered the thoughts that are behind what you're doing? Guys, the other reason why this is really, really important is because if you understand this and if you live these 5 steps, it will literally help you be able to support, I should say, your husband through those 5 steps. If he's willing to listen to you, if you're living these 5 steps, and if you are using them to self-coach, then you can help your husband do the same thing. Okay? So anyway, next week we're going to talk about how to change these thought processes a little bit more, and starting to set you up with a really, really healthy mindset, because your mindset is literally everything in the success of this, you guys. So, thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys took away some really juicy tidbits, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye, guys. Hey guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me today and listening in on this podcasting episode. Don't forget to tune in next week. It's gonna be awesome.